Hey guys, I want to welcome you to Tuesday's edition of Journey Through the Gospels. And today we are in Luke chapter 12. And you know, it's been several years since the birth of our children, but I can remember that we were probably like many of you that have had children, that as the days were getting closer to the birth, that one of the things that you did to prepare for that time is that you prepared a bag or bags to take with you to the hospital. And you never knew when that day was going to come, when the contractions were going to start or when the water might break. And so you always lived thinking that it could happen at any moment, that you would have to rush to the hospital, and in that moment that you wouldn't necessarily have time to grab a bag or pack a bag at that time. So you had a bag or had some bags packed. Maybe they were even by the door, maybe you already had them in the trunk of the car, but you were ready at a moment's notice to head to the hospital to be ready. And because at that time, when it was time to go, you didn't have time to pack. You didn't want to be trying to scurry around, trying to pack things and everything. At that moment, you wanted to be ready so that when she says, honey, the contractions have started and it's time to go to the hospital, that you are ready to go. In Luke chapter 12, Jesus gives us a story of or a teaching of when he returns, of how as believers that we should be when he gets ready to return. And this is what Jesus says in verse 35. He says, "Be dressed, ready for service, and keep your lamps burning, like men waiting for their master to return from a wedding banquet, so that when he comes and knocks, they can immediately open the door for him. It will be good for those servants whose master finds them watching when he comes. I tell you the truth, he will dress himself to serve, will have them recline at the table, and will come and wait on them. It will be good for those servants whose master finds them ready, even if he comes in the second or third watch of the night. But understand this, if the owner of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him." Just as the baby comes when the baby is ready to come. You don't always know when that time is. You kind of know an approximate date, an approximate number of 40 weeks when you think that the baby is going to come, but sometimes the baby comes a little early, sometimes the baby comes a little late, and sometimes the baby comes right on time. But you never know the exact hour, you never know the exact time of day. The baby, the contractions could start in the middle of the night, or it could be in the middle of the afternoon. You just never know. And so you pack that bag just so that you'll be ready whenever that time comes. And Jesus says when he returns, he says that it would be good for when he returns if he finds his people watching and ready and waiting. And he says he may come if he comes in the second or the third watch of the night, he said that when he comes, that he wants a church that is looking and waiting and expecting his return. And that's how we're supposed to be. And he even compares his return to coming like a thief in the night. And that if the owner of the house knew the time when their house is going to be broken into, that owner would do all that they could to prevent their house from being broken into. And the point is this, Jesus says, that you never know when I'm going to return. He says, another place he says, I don't even know when it's been appointed by my Father in heaven to return. But he says, you have to be ready at any time when I come. You have to be prepared, because when I come, when I return, Jesus says, at that time, you're not going to have time to scurry around and get ready. It's like when that baby comes. You don't have time to scurry around and try to pack a bag. Where are the suitcases? Did I get the toothbrush? And try to scurry and get everything together. You have to be ready when that time comes. And Jesus says, when I return, there's not going to be time for you to try to get your heart right with me at that time. He says, it's going to be too late. And so you have to be watchful, you have to be ready, and you have to be waiting. My question to you today is this, are you ready? If Jesus were to return today, would you be ready? And if you are, that is great. Keep being ready. Keep seeking the Lord. Keep watching for His return. And because that's what Jesus told us that He wanted us to do, to keep watching. But if you're not ready, then you need to get ready today. You need to go to the Lord right now and say, Lord, forgive me of my sin. Lord, I want to be ready for you. And then begin living for Christ. Begin serving Christ. And begin watching and living your life as if He could come back at any moment, because the reality is He could come at any moment. He could even come back today. And so I pray that you are ready when He returns. That's going to do it for today. Tomorrow we're going to be in Luke chapter 13. So look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great day. See you then.